The world's largest biodiversity conference in a decade opens in southern China today. The city of Kunming is hosting the United Nations COP15 meeting. That's where world leaders will discuss solutions to better protect nature. The Chinese President Xi Jinping will speak via video during a leaders' summit on Tuesday. So for more on this, let's get over live to our reporter Meng Qingshang, who's standing by for us in Kunming. So Qingshang, what can you tell us about this gathering?
Well, the first part of the UN Biodiversity Conference will begin in about 3 hours at the convention center behind me. The meeting will review the post-2020 global biodiversity framework to draw a blueprint for biodiversity conservation in the future. It will also continue efforts to achieve the Aichi biodiversity targets agreed in Japan a decade ago. Today, there's an opening ceremony which people outside China can take part in virtually. Chinese officials and representatives from the United Nations will attend the ceremony and deliver keynote speeches. On Tuesday, Chinese President Xi Jinping will address the meeting from Beijing via video link. The 5-day event also includes a high-level segment and regular agenda items. A Kunming declaration is expected at its close. There are also side events including an ecological civilization forum and relevant exhibitions. For more insight into this, I'm joined by Mr. Terry Tongshat, a British wildlife conservationist based in Beijing. He's also a fellow at the Paulson Institute. Mr. Tongshat, welcome. First, can you share with us why it's important to protect biodiversity?
Well, biodiversity, which is the range of living things on our planet, is fundamental to human survival and well-being. So we evolved in, as a species, we evolved in and are dependent on nature. So whether it's the air we breathe, the water we drink, or the food we eat. And what we're doing to biodiversity right now, we're seeing a tremendous loss of biodiversity. And what we do to nature, we do to ourselves. And that's why this meeting is so important, to bring together the international community to agree on a new framework to slow and stop biodiversity loss.
Well, just a few weeks post this COP15, the COP26 UN Climate Change Conference will be held in Glasgow later. What are the linkages between biodiversity and climate change?
Well, these two environmental crises are inextricably linked. So climate change exacerbates biodiversity loss, and biodiversity loss exacerbates climate change. So it's really important that we bring together these two agendas. And that's why COP15 here in China and COP26 in Glasgow is a great opportunity for the UK and China to bring these two agendas together and make sure they're dealt with holistically.
Okay, thanks for being with us, Ms. Tongshat. Well, the Kunming will host the second part of this meeting in April and May of next year, and it will be an in-person gathering. Attendees are expected to address the remaining agenda items, including the finalization and adoption of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Jonathan.
All right, our Meng Qingshang live for us in Kunming. Thank you so much. Well, this conference is being held in a part of China that's rich with biodiversity, and so Lu Wei has more on the meeting and the expectations.
Known as the kingdom of animals and plants, China's Yunnan is gearing up for the world's biggest biodiversity conference in a decade. COP15 will soon begin in the provincial capital of Kunming. It's the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. The first part of the gathering will last from Monday to Friday, both online and offline. The theme is ecological civilization, building a shared future for all life on Earth. Yunnan province offers a window into China's biodiversity. Although it only takes about 4% of the country's land area, the province is home to more than half of the species found in China. The meeting aims to draw a blueprint for biodiversity conservation. A declaration is expected to call for better protection of species and organisms and sustainable development. The second session will be an in-person event scheduled for next April and May, also in Kunming. It has been nearly 3 decades since the UN Convention on Biological Diversity took effect in 1993. With more than 150 signatures, the treaty has 3 main objectives: the conservation of biological diversity, the sustainable use of biological diversity components, and to fairly share genetic resources. Officials say the gathering will provide a great opportunity for the international community to explore actions to achieve these goals. Around the world, biodiversity is now being destroyed at an alarming rate. Experts estimate that dozens of species are disappearing every day. And some say it's become more important than ever to work together and build a shared future for all life on Earth.
Well, among the world's most influential conservationists is English anthropologist Jane Goodall. The primatologist spent 26 years in the African forest to study humans' closest relatives, chimpanzees. And she spoke to our reporter Tal Yuen about the life-changing experience and her findings, which changed the world.
You spent the first months just roaming around trying to find them, and they spent the first months running away from you.
Yes, 4 whole months. They'd never seen a white ape before. And that's what it was.
And then what happened? What was your first big breakthrough?
Well, the big breakthrough, thank you, David Graybeard, the one who'd begun to lose his fear. So I still couldn't get very close, but much closer than to the others. And on this breakthrough day, I saw him using pieces of grass to fish termites from their underground nests. Pushing a grass stem in, pulling it carefully out, and picking off the termites. At that time, scientists believed humans and only humans used and made tools. So this was the big breakthrough. It enabled Leakey to get money from National Geographic so I could carry on the research, and they sent a photographer and filmmaker, Hugo van Leeuwen, to record the observations I was making by then on many more chimps. And I think David helped them to lose their fear, because if I approached a group that was ready to run as usual, but if David was there, he just sat calmly, and I suppose the others thought, well, she can't be so frightening after all. And he was a very, very wonderful and handsome. There he is.
You named him David Graybeard because of the white fur under his chin.
White beard, yes.
That actually got you in trouble, right, Jane? Because you made such a groundbreaking discovery that Louis Leakey got you into a PhD program at Cambridge. And then your methodology of attributing human traits to these animals actually got criticized and ridiculed by the biggest names in your field.
Yes, it was ridiculous. They told me the chimp should have had numbers. They told me that I couldn't talk about personality. I couldn't talk about minds capable of solving problems. And I couldn't talk about emotions. I was nervous of these professors, but I knew they were wrong, because I'd learned as a child from a wonderful teacher that what they were saying wasn't true, and that teacher was my dog. So, you can't share your life with a dog, cat, rabbit, a horse, I don't care what it is, and not know, of course, we are not the only beings with personalities, minds, and emotions. They tried to teach me that the difference between us and all the other animals, and it was the chimps that helped me persuade science that that wasn't true, that we are actually part of, not separate from this amazing animal kingdom.
A conversation with Jane Goodall. Well, a few months ago, crews from CGTN's Tech It Out series set out on an adventure to the Tibetan plateau. Along with 3 groups of scientists, they visited vast wilderness and then laboratories to connect the dots behind the rich diversity in the region. Now we present their findings in a series called Land of Diversity, and in the first episode we look at how tiny pikas can survive harsh winters. Young Zhao has more.
Life on the roof of the world is full of interesting stories. Near Lhasa, on this dry, wind-swept steppes at an altitude of 4,500 meters, a plateau pika peeks out of his burrow. They look like rats, but are actually closer to rabbits. summer is the most enjoyable time of the year on the plateau. But those pikas cannot let their guard down because they're on the menu of nearly everyone here. Rabbits' DNA helps them escape by taking advantage of burrow networks. They can dig up to 2,000 holes per hectare. On the surface, they look like Bilbo Baggins' hobbit hole in the Shire, but the complexity is beyond imagination. Some are simply meant for escape, and others are more complex, cozy homes. Danger is just one chapter of the pika survival story. Competition is another. It's partly the result of living in a crowded family, but it also comes from something bigger. Himalayan yaks, the VIP customers of this grass buffet. Despite their huge size difference, scientists categorize them as rivals. But latest findings say their relationship developed to something more. When the short, frost-free season ends. How the pika survives harsh winters has been a mystery. They don't migrate, hibernate, use extra body fat, or store grass in burrows like their American cousins. They skip nearly all winter strategies we have known so far. A recent analysis of pika's gut content, however, revealed the presence of yak feces. This behavior, known as interspecific coprophagy, is quite rare among vertebrates, but makes sense. Yak dropping is a low-effort food source that allows the pika both to save energy and protect themselves from the cold and predators. This diversified nature can establish any unlikely relationship.